What's going on? Seems like my most popular video was the ALAD review, so I figured that I would, hook you guys up with a 1p-LSD review. I have a lot going on and a lot of things have happened in my life that I really want to talk about. I just want to get something out there that's, you guys seem to enjoy first before I go into the other stuff. If anyone's interested in the more mysterious aspects of life, such as lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences, astral projection, I want to talk about that and how it relates to my use of psychedelics and how they literally triggered these events to happen. And if they didn't, well, that's a hell of a coincidence that they began after a particular traumatic experience I had with LSD when I was a kid, which I still need to get a video out about too. Sometimes I'll watch these videos when I'm done and I'll scrap them because I'll leave shit out, or I just don't think they're worthy of posting for, just because I know I can do a better job. And that's what's been happening a lot. So, 1p-LSD, 1-propenyl lysergic acid diethylamide is, I hope I said that wrong. Anyway, it's a very new analog of LSD. A lot of people are saying that it is simply a prodrug to LSD, but there's reasons to believe that it's active on its own. I don't want to get too far into I'm not a chemist. I don't understand a lot of that jargon, but basically what it is LSD, the LSD molecule, with an extra propenyl atom attached somewhere. Now, what's interesting about this is the legendary and mythic status of a chemical called, what's the name? Well, it was referred to as the legendary sunshine acid in the 70s or 80s, and it was put out on the streets, apparently, allegedly, but there is, look it up yourself, I can't go into that too much, but there is a lot of controversy around it. Some say it never happened, it was never synth, or at least never put out on the streets as acid. Others say that it was indeed different, it had a different effect to it, and that was ALD52. Now, ALD52 is extremely similar in its chemical in its molecular structure as 1p-LSD. It should almost be the same thing. So that's kind of cool. It was probably modeled after that. See, the problem with ALD52 is, in theory, the way the chemical works is it would break down too quickly. So let's say they make a batch, a few days later it's gone. Like it degrades into LSD very quickly. So you'd have to take it immediately. So anyway, 1p-LSD. They say it's a prodrug. I find it to be more than a prodrug, subjectively, and there's also a lot of controversy around that, because in order for something to be a prodrug, it must be weaker and I believe it's weaker. It has to be less potent than its parent molecule, whatever. And there's a few other guidelines that 1p-LSD seems to break the rules of. But one of the main ones is it can't be as strong as the parent. Because the body has to turn it into that drug, in this case LSD. So a prodrug, you take it, it's not the active drug yet, but once you consume it, it becomes the active drug through through enzymes or metabolism or whatnot. That's where they were saying 1p-LSD is. Problem with that is it was extremely potent. It lasted. That's another thing. It has to last longer. It can't last. The effects can't be a shorter timeline. Like a prodrug has to last longer, has to be stretched out, because the body gets rid of it and metabolizes it. It takes longer for it to develop. I found 1p-LSD to last 8 to 10 hours maybe, and LSD always lasts 12, sometimes 16 hours in me. I don't know if I'm sensitive to it, but if I take LSD, I'm up all night. So first we'll start with similarities to LSD, and then the opposite, and then I'll go over what was not similar to LSD to me. Well, actually, I'll just do that both. I'll compare and contrast, and then I will give you a trip report. So this one tab, 100 mics, is what they're laid at. Hit me really quickly. It hit me, and I find LSD to hit pretty quick too, so they hit about the same time. However, with 1p-LSD, it took 2.5, maybe 3 hours to reach my peak. And with LSD, I'm peaking an hour and a half in. I found with 1p-LSD, it was more. It was really not. It made me really nauseous. LSD doesn't make me nauseous too often. This 1p really hit me. It was really hard to deal with the nausea. It was just wrecking me. But the nausea is usually an indication of a powerful dose. It's just, it hits you so hard, which this indeed did. Everything was my senses were out of control within maybe 20 minutes to 30 minutes with this particular substance. So I found 100 mics to be really powerful, and I'm not gonna, and this is a myth, and I've been around the block a few times. 17 years I've been tripping. Not every day, obviously, but at least a couple times a year. And initially I was tripping a lot when I first discovered LSD and stuff, but now, not that much, but still I've been around it for 17 years. I've talked to people, I've known people, I see people tripping, and let me tell you, one tab typically is not 100 mics. You're looking at about 70 mics, 60 mics. There's even drug seizure databases. You can go online and see for yourself. It's very rare anything will even come close to 90 mics that the police have seized. They show, and chemically analyzed, they show that your typical tab on the street can be as low as 30, 40 mics, and often doesn't exceed 80. So 60, 70 is your average hit. That's important because a lot of people will think, well, I'll take one hit of 1p-LSD and it's going to feel like one hit of acid, typically, because everyone thinks typically one hit of acid is 100 mics. This is not fucking true. It's just not true. Anyway, so the first thing I noticed about it was the visuals are very close to, it was shroomier. That's all I can say. Like, things were bubbling and warping a lot more than fractaling. Like, I get, like, from LSD I get like a laser show, a light show, very lucid fractals, displayed over everything, almost like a wallpaper effect. Things will repeat, like holograms will like superimpose themselves over everything, like wallpaper, like repeat. This effect was nearly non-existent. I got huge trails, everything was just lit up like a Christmas tree. It was beautiful, but it didn't give me the both closed eye visuals that I like from LSD and that overlay I'm talking about, that wallpaper effect. I was not getting that. Like if I looked at the ground at some rocks, I would see those rocks form fractal patterns, but I wouldn't get those laser, what I just said. I wouldn't get that effect. So visuals weren't quite as stunning for how strong this dose was. The tracers were stunning. They were amazing. Really long, beautiful trails. The headspace, it's hard to say because this was really fucking knock you on your ass powerful, shouldn't be in public type dose. And I took it with someone else. We both found that to be true. Either we're both sensitive to it, we got a hot spot on our doses, or 1p-LSD affects us stronger. I'm used to taking 2 hits of acid, and this was more than that. 2 average hits of acid, 50, 60, 70 mics, whatever. Taking strong acid, and this was way stronger. It was way more. It caused a lot of confusion, which I rarely get from acid. Like I get that from shrooms a lot. And this was, that's why I compared it to mushrooms initially. After the peak, things become more visual, less body, less knock you on your ass. Like I said, it was really stimulating at that point too. It wasn't very stimulating at first. I mean, it was there, but it was more that shroomy, I don't know what's going on, I just gotta lay here for a minute feeling. So yeah, and what else? Oh, the come down was rather rapid. It was like once you start feeling like you're coming down, the decline is quick. And I was able to sleep 10 hours after with no help. No sleeping pills or nothing. I didn't need any help to fall asleep, which was interesting. For a pro drug, that's interesting. Mind you, I think this hit much more visual at a higher dose. It didn't for me, but I didn't take a huge dose. I took what you would call moderate. 100 mics is fairly moderate. So, onto the trip report. So it was a beautiful day out. It was 97 degrees. It was during the summer, last summer. My girl and I decided to go on a day trip in the park. And this park's a public park. There's a lot of people there. Fairly crowded. So, we weren't worried about it though. We start chewing on our tabs. We decide, hey, let's go to the swimming hole. There's a swimming hole in this park. And we start walking over there, and we can tell it's starting to hit. And I got this vaguely familiar, anxious feeling. I know I felt this type of anxiety before. And I knew I was in for a ride. Well, 20 minutes later, I was like, this shit's strong. We couldn't even find the swimming hole that I normally go to all the time. Never had a problem, finding it. And it was hard to locate. When we finally found it, we sat down, and I felt like we looked up towards the sun, and I literally felt like I was on that planet in Avatar. I felt otherworldly. I was like, this shit's hitting. That headspace was there. I felt otherworldly. And I just felt like these alien creatures staring up. And I said something profound to her. I was like, somewhere in the universe, there's 2 people sitting on some rock, looking back in our direction, wondering the same exact fucking thing. That just kind of blew our mind. We were just tripping off that as the effects were increasing. decided to get in the water. We're staring in the water and looking down and just watching everything form into patterns, you know, fractals and stuff. And we noticed this gets a little weird and personal, but she was not having her period for a while, and we just saw she hadn't had her period for a while, so she was a little concerned about it. But we saw this tadpole, this huge, it was big, it was a big fucking tadpole, and it was in the creek portion of the swimming hole. It's like maybe 2 feet deep, and this tadpole sitting there, and in the tadpole, or around the tadpole, it was a formation of rocks, so it couldn't get away. It was in its own little swimming hole, and we just started tripping off that. I was like, man, do you think this means something, you know? And as I'm looking at it, we're tripping off of that, you know, because she didn't get her period for a while. We were thinking, you know, how babies look, they can look like, or they do look similar to tadpole at one point, while they're forming in the belly, you know. We're kind of just tripping off of that, and then, you know, that was just a weird synchronicity. And then I just look at the water, and there's these natural patterns, not ones I was seeing as a result of the substance, but they were rippling outwards. It was rippling outwards and forming a Mandelbrot. And then I watched this literally unfold in front of me. It just kept continuing for infinity. And I just realized we're standing in a giant Mandelbrot type fractal, and it just kept going forever. And that blew my mind. It was one of those points in a trip where you just get lost in staring at something, and then visuals kind of form around it. You know, I just kind of like shook my head and snapped out. I was like, fuck, dude, this shit it's hitting good. I was like, I don't know if it was the anxiety or just the sheer intensity of the effects, but my hands were shaking. They were like trembling. And so that kind of made me feel like, oh, it's probably anxiety. I should get a beer in me. So we decided to walk to the store to get a beer, and we were like, just in case, we should grab a couple benzos. And her friend gave her some benzos. She had a couple in the car. We decided we should grab those just in case. This shit's getting really fucking strong. We didn't expect such an intense, you know, trip. We were hoping for a mild trip, you know, maybe we just connect, hang out, look at some cool visuals, but this was really powerful. So we were fucking tripping so hard we could not find the car. This is not even an hour in. It's maybe an hour in. Couldn't find the car. We parked in the parking lot of this park. So we're like, alright, fuck it. Couldn't drive anyway because we wanted to get alcohol as well. She wanted to get the benzos, but I figured we'd just get some beer. It'll mellow us out. As I'm walking, I realize we're walking in circles. Like, we're not going to the store. We're totally fucking lost, both in our heads and on the street of my own fucking hometown, tripping so hard, you know. Anyway, the effects are climbing, and we're literally walking in circles. And then I said, I think at one point I'm like, dude, I think I'm tripping too hard. And that just was the wrong thing to say to myself, the wrong thing to think. And I just went into this crazy thought loop, and I imagined myself never coming back, being done, and that caused some panic and whatever. Just figured, keep walking, walk it off. And so it was really uncomfortable, borderline scary, but I was containing it inside of me. I just wasn't talking. I was like, let's just keep walking. It'll, you know, I've tripped hard before. I'll be fine. You know, this is fighting the negative thoughts, and I'm looping fucking looping. And then as I'm looping, I kept hearing what I imagined the sound of my brain snapping, of me just losing it, and that's it, you're done. I imagined this, it was almost like a cartoonish sound you would hear when someone gets, you know, hit in the head in Looney Tunes. It was a very cartoonish, bizarre sound, and I kept hearing it. And I heard this in another bad trip I had, and so I don't know why it came into this trip. It was almost like the continuation of that bad trip. It just restarted in this one. In the middle of this one, this was already like pretty much done coming up, almost peaking. Or maybe still coming up, but almost peaking. Because this is where it gets fucking crazy. So we're walking. Finally, I try and collect myself and think, okay, which way to Safeway? Because we want to get alcohol. And I figure it out, and I just start walking. I'm like, come on, let's go. We go to Safeway, and I'm shaking. I don't know if it's the anxiety or this particular substance. I would call them tremors. It was pretty severe tremors. Like my hands were not steady at all. And as we're walking into Safeway, it's getting worse. Not the tremors, but my thought loops. Just a complete loss of track and control of my own thoughts, which was terrifying. I don't know if anyone's been through that. The feeling of losing control of your thoughts and your mind, but not being okay with it. I'm sure we've all had our hardcore trips where you lost control of your mind, but you're okay with it. It's a pleasant feeling. You let go. You just don't care. You're the observer of this. I wasn't the observer. I was in it. So that was the horror that you would experience if you're caught up in it, in the thoughts and the loops. So I get into the supermarket, Safeway, where we were going to buy beer, and at this point I couldn't tell the difference between myself and a can of dog food on the shelf. Everything, physical reality, just became labels, I guess. It's just all these labels that we have for everything. You know, you grow up, you learn language, you learn what to label what, and it lost its meaning. The labels were there, but the meaning behind it was not there. It's probably an ego death experience, but I'm not sure exactly. Anyway, this phenomena became more and more severe, and it was getting scarier and scarier to the point where I felt this energy inside of me, and something had to give. I was either gonna, and I just imagined myself on a stretcher being pulled out, you know, taken down to the hospital or something. I remember that going through my head at one point. And finally, we're standing in line. We got our beer. She got water. She got us a couple water bottles, and I got the beer, the 6-pack. And I was like, I can't do this. You have to buy it. I can't talk to this checkout lady. And she's like, I don't have an ID. I was like, fuck. All right. Just do this. You know. So finally, it's my turn. And I look at this lady, I hand her the beer, and she cards me. In the moment, like either right before she cards me or right when she says that, it gave way. All this panic, right when I got to her, actually. It was either, I felt like I was going to die. I was going to die or go crazy or something. It was just like, the energy was so immense. It felt like an atomic bomb about to go off, and something had to give. And then all of a sudden, peace, just complete peace. All the typical acid visuals, all of them stopped. And all I saw was everything alive, basically all the people in the supermarket, anything organic and living, had a silver white glow coming from behind it. It was fucking bizarre. I've never seen anything like this. And dare I say that this wasn't acid visuals. It was not an effect of the LSD. I was not seeing, or 1p-LSD. I was not seeing anything like that. before, until all this gave way, all this panic, all this anxiety. As soon as that was gone, white light. And the lady says to me, "I need to see your ID, please." And calm and collectively, I just leaned back like I was on cloud 9. That's exactly how I felt. I felt fucking amazing. So euphoric. I was not high though. I didn't feel high. I just felt a pure consciousness stream, as opposed to that chaos. It was just a pure stream of consciousness. I was able to just lean back and say, "Oh, you know what? I don't have it. I think we'll just take these waters." And I was okay. And she was like, and I could not stop staring at this woman because her face looked, she was not what you would call physically attractive, but there was this angelic look to her. I saw the divine in everything. It was so weird. I don't normally talk like that, you know, but this was a pure, unadulterated, mystical fucking experience. Bizarre experience. I never had. Everything went slow motion too, and everything like just like in the movies when they depict heaven, everything's soft, like a soft glow around everything. It was just like that. And my lips were, I felt this vibration all through me. I felt this heat and warmth coming out from this chakra or the third eye or what have you. It was vibrating. Like when I tried to talk, I would just hear a vibration. I would hear a reverberation inside of my ears. So bizarre. And this lasted, I'd say, 5 minutes or so. And please, if anyone else has experienced this, please comment or private message me. I want to know, because I've tried to tell people about this, and I've only heard or read about it, like some similar accounts, rarely, but I can never actually talk to someone about it. So I want to know if anyone else has experienced this type of experience. Some people call it the clear white light. Anyway. So, like I said, there was no visuals. Like, nothing was warping anymore. Everything was just like, it was like all the acid visuals were stripped away, and now I'm seeing, like, it was like I was in a dream. Like, I don't know if anyone's had an astral projection experience or a lucid dream, but everything became like even flesh was like a strange substance. Instead of, it looked like energy. Everything looked like flowing energy. I've never had, you know, I've tripped, I've seen shit, I've seen crazy shit, but I've never had something like this. So, real interesting experience. Once in a lifetime, I believe. I don't think I'll ever, hopefully, I may, but I don't think I don't believe it's ever going to happen again. So, I try and count my lucky stars on that. Because it was what I would call a legendary experience, mystical experience of the highest caliber. And I look at my girlfriend, and I look over at her, and she looks at me, and we're both, it seemed like she knew what was going on inside of me. Or maybe she was going through the same thing. At the time, I just didn't know. I didn't care. I just had my jaw dropped. I'm like, everything's in slow motion. It's glowing soft. What the fuck is going on? And there's the panic and all the anxiety. It was like the trek, the journey to get here to this particular moment in time. So we get our water. We weren't able to buy the alcohol. We walk outside. We start walking across the parking lot, and I was like, it's gone. All the negativity, all that shit is gone. I'm fucking just on cloud 9. I wanted to jump around like a schoolgirl. I was just so fucking stoked on how I was feeling at that point. And that slow motion effect and all that stopped, and the regular effects of the LSD started to creep back in. And I asked her, "Did you see what happened in there?" as we were walking away. I was like, did I die? Like, I literally thought maybe I died or we dimensionally hopped or something. I don't know. It was fucking weird. I asked her, did you witness did you just go through what I went through? And she was like, yeah, it was like we were in the astral world or something. She literally said that. I didn't put those words in her mouth. She literally said it was like we were in the astral world. It's like, so you saw what I saw. She's like, yeah, I was there with you, you know. We both were in that. It was weird. It was almost like a shared hallucination experience. What's interesting is one of us took it. We didn't take it at the exact same time. So that's interesting that our timelines didn't completely match up. One of us took it like 5 minutes earlier than the other. I don't remember how that happened or who. I think it was because I took it and we were still deciding whether we were going to trip or not when we were sitting in the park. And I was like, fuck it. And I took it. And she was like apprehensive and finally did it. So our timelines were a little off. So we're walking back to the park. And I'm like, just everything was like a green lava. Like everything had this green sparkly lava texture. I was looking at my hands and it was just like I said, like an energy. It was somewhere between flesh and energy, like something in between there. And that effect seemed to stay with me. Out of all the effects that I was talking about when I was in the supermarket, like that soft white glow and the slow motion, all that shit stopped, but the way people's skin looked remained throughout that whole trip. And it was really interesting. A very profound experience. The whole rest of the time I was just having a fucking blast. Went to finally ended up getting to a liquor store where we could buy beer. And I literally felt like I was on a fucking spaceship. It was, you know, some of the mental, psychological journeys I was going through by just changing my location were fucking amazing. The substance is amazing. It's not to be toyed with. It's strong. So if you come across it, I highly recommend you try it. It's really good stuff. Hopefully it'll come around again because I'd like to sample it again. Anyway, I think that about concludes it. We basically walked like 5 miles to my house while the trip was winding down. By the time we got home, it was pretty much over. Like I said, I was just on cloud 9 and just kind of went to sleep after it came down. Lasted maybe 9 hours. It wasn't a very long trip, which is, like I said, interesting if this is a pro-drug. That's really interesting that it's not following the exact pro-drug guidelines. Other than that, yeah. Just need to put up a disclaimer because, you know, I don't recommend anyone do anything like this. I was kind of full of shit when I was just saying that I highly recommend it. I don't. I recommend it for me. If I see it again, I want to check it out again. Other than that, I don't recommend any illegal activities or drug use. So stay safe, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.